Yeah, hi everyone. Thank you for coming today. We're so excited to have embarked on a journey of storytelling and interviews. So today, we're very honored to have invited Shen to come and tell his grandpa's life story. And it's so important that these stories are told because right now it's not written in the textbook, but you guys get a first-hand chance to hear this story. So, first, please be respectful and be quiet during the storytelling, and also mute your phones. And afterwards, we'll get the chance to ask some questions, and also there'll be gifts afterward too. All right. So now let's give it up to Alan.
Thank you. Thanks. Okay, again, thank you for this conference.
Yes, very good.
Yeah, I can remember that.
It's hard to say.
So yeah, thank you for providing the classroom and allow me to share my stories. So, and please, if you have any questions or yourself, just let me know, and then we can go from there. So, I just want to share a story of my grandparents who lived through multiple eras. I think there's a student out there, or no?
Yeah, come on. Please.
Come on in.
Oh, Tyra. Sit there.
Come on in. So we just got started, so. Yeah, grab some candy, grab some chips. Yeah, so we're just getting started to share with the group. And so we're going to be going over some stories about the country of China that the different eras my grandparents went through. So first question first. So how many people know where China is, actually? You all do? So here's the thing. Which flag is the Chinese flag?
The one right there, the right one. Right.
Everyone
that
knows.
one's Malaysia. That one's Taiwan. Right.
Oh.
That's embarrassing.
Well, she's right. Well, you're right. For today, this is the flag for China. But the thing is, they're actually both correct. Taiwan, the national name is actually Republic of China. And this is the People's Republic of China. So think about like North and South Korea. Both Korea, both China, just different names. Do you think you can move this thing up a little bit or no?
It's kind of how it's,
Okay, because there's something on the bottom that, oh, they can still see it.
Okay.
So the two different, well, I can say two different countries, because this China was founded in 1949, and the other one was founded in 1911, which was the first republic country in Asia. It's called the Republic of China, which is ROC. The difference is that there was a civil war, and when Mao won the civil war, and he took what is today known as China. Even though it was founded in 1949, the United States did not get diplomatic relations with this China until Jimmy Carter. So it was only after Nixon's visit to the current China, the two countries started having relations. But the U.S. did establish diplomatic relations with ROC. The country was founded in 1911, by 1911, because President Eisenhower visited that China back in the 50s, right? So there's some stories about it. So the maps, we all know today China looks like this, right? But in 1945, at the end of the World War II, the world has recognized the map of China looked like this, with a different flag. See, well, it's 1945 here, it's hard to read. And the globe, I mean, when you look at the Munich Olympics in 1972 in Germany, this was the flag that represents China in the Olympics, before you were born. So today what we have is this. So Beijing has that flag taking over the whole mainland, where Taiwan still has a capital in Taipei. So that's how there's confusions because both sides claim to be China, but China claims Taiwan to be part of China. So it's really messy. So, but anyways, let's talk about before the communists took over of the country. So in the 1930s was a great time for the ROC. Times were good, people were wealthy, life was prosperous. So a typical day in that time in China looked something like this. As you can see, ladies had their styles, right? She wore glasses. You can see that there's an old style camera right here where they had cases. And it appears that I don't know what they're eating. It looks like ice cream or milkshake. And there's a tea or coffee. So life was pretty good before World War II started. Yeah. And this is a typical day in early 40s, right? Yes, Coca-Cola was there in the 40s and 30s. But you can see that this could easily be any countries in Europe or in US. So it wasn't that much difference because at the time it was very open to the West. And here's some typical commercial advertising in the 30s. Right there was the latest. Right there, that's Coca-Cola because we know it's from the 30s because it's written from the right to the left. And that was the ad for Coca-Cola in 30s from China. So look at that. So this is a Chinese medicine ad. I don't know what this thing does. It says it's good for your health, make you strong, or something like that. But again, so that was the country back then. And on the street, it looks something like this. You can, I can't pull this thing down. You can see there's like tram tracks, double-decker buses, all traditional Chinese writing, so you know that's before 49. It looks like it's a busy street, people are busy, and people can afford things. So, and never forget about the nightlife. There's a famous place in Shanghai called the Paramount, where the Broadway shows were shown, there are many musicals, and it's still being an entertainment venue today. So it's a famous place in Shanghai. So, talk about my family, because that's the era where my grandparents started their life, right? So here's a high school picture of my grandpa. I think this is early 1930s. And you would ask like, oh, how come he signed his name in C.S. Shen in English? Because back then in Beijing, my grandpa went to a private American school.
How old was he?
I want to say 16.
16? Well, you look young.
I don't know the exact age, I just know the early 30s. So back then, we had private American schools in Shanghai and Beijing, and that's where my grandpa went to school. And that's a graduation of high school. That's my grandpa right there. You can see he's looking pretty spiffy with his suit. That's my great-grandpa. His younger sister and younger brother right there. So this is also 1930s, in the early 30s. Oh, that's one of my great-grandpa right here, dressed up. As you can see that he's dressed in a mixture of Western and Chinese clothing. Because remember Jackie Chan's movie, Shanghai Noon?
Yeah.
That he was wearing a dress, right? So something similar to that. And that's my grandpa right there. I don't know who these people are actually. So, but hey, just having a good day outside. That's my grandpa's started working in the early 40s. We know that in the 40s, World War II was happening, but that was only on the coastal cities where Japanese were occupying parts of China. So on the west side of China, things were more normal. So you didn't have bombings, you didn't have raids, lives were kind of normal. Just inflations were going on because of the war, but at least you didn't see any firefights. And Here's another picture from the mid-40s. My grandpa was working, he worked as an engineer for Ford Motors at the time, because Ford was actually in China at that time. And you can see there's traditional Chinese writings right here, tells you it's before 49, and there's English below. So at the time, English were pretty common in most places in China. Until Mao took over, then it was kind of banned. But back then, it was pretty common. My grandparents got married. That's my grandma, that's my grandpa. They got married early 40s. There's a story, if I have time, I'll come back to it. But now I'll just skip to the next picture. So they got married, and my dad was born. So this is my dad right here. I don't know how old he was, maybe 5. So it's my grandpa, my granduncle, his brother, my grandma. These are my grandma's sisters-in-law, so my grandpa's sisters. Great-grandpa, stepmom. Whoops. So there we go. So keep in mind what kind of dresses they're wearing. It's black and white, but it's probably colorful, right? So, and look how happy they are. Like it's my grandma, my dad right here. People were happy in that time, and they were well dressed and very westernized, right? So it's my grandma with her sister-in-laws. So it's my grandpa's 3 sisters right here. So it's the second one, third one, the youngest one. Again, so remember what they kind of looked like back before 1949, the Mao's takeover. Here is what they look like during Cultural Revolution after Mao took over. And you notice the difference.
They're not as happy.
They're not as happy, very good. Notice how their clothing's changed, right?
Did the war start here?
What?
Did the war start here?
The war, there's no war, it's just internal conflict. You could call it civil war if you want to, but the Cultural Revolution did not have, like, people didn't have freedoms and stuff. They're required by law to dress in these single-colored shirts. So it was a very colorless time in China. So what's up?
I've seen this in a movie before. I've seen it in a movie. If I remember.
Okay, you work on that. So as you can see, that's my dad, my grandma, grandpa, uncle, his wife, aunt. So you can see clearly they're not happy anymore, right? They're wearing very dull, single-color shirts, which was a government regulation, right? Because it was actually illegal to wear anything else at that time. So you can't pick your clothing and all that stuff. Again, it's my dad, my uncle. In the college year times, you can tell that their shirts are very single-colored, just one design, right? And what's next? Where's my water? So you would ask, what happened, right? What happened in the country where it made my grandpa going from dressed and look like this to dressed and look like this in a span of 15 to 20 years? Because this is 40s and this is early 60s. So you would want to ask, what happened, right? What happened in the country? So I'm going to skip the first 2. If I have time, I'll come back to it. So the 2 big movements were Great Leap Forward and the Cultural Revolution. There was a time called Catching the Bad Guys. That was a fun time, by the way. So Great Leap Forward, how did that happen? So one time, Mao said that in order for us to catch up to the Western society, we have to make steels. Steel production was a thing, the indicator for, hey, it's a good country. So what do they do? So they start saying that we have to make a lot of steels. But how do they go about it? Here's a poster, propaganda poster for making steels. So what do you see here? They say that's how they should make steel. So what do you see it's wrong with this? Do you see anything That's not normal. Do you make steels outside?
No.
They were trying to make steels outside. That's what they were trying to convey, the message. Seems like it's melted steel coming out, but I don't know what they're doing here. It's the propaganda says, steel mills coming out of the ground and shines light. So that's how they were trying to make steels. This is actually how they were trying to make steels, by the way. So they built these clay pots and they put stuff in there to make steels. But quick question, what do you need to make steels?
Steel.
Iron.
Iron ore, right? Very good. Iron ore. You need iron ore to make steels, but they didn't have iron ores at the time, so what did they do? Mao asked everyone to donate their doorknobs, their knives, their spoons, their pots and pans, and they threw them all in there to melt them with wood fire and trying to make steels that way. So as a result, they cut down so many forests in China to make steels like these, right? So what happened is that you can even see the after effect today. When I went to China, there's so many grounds that's just without trees. So like mountains just covered in dirt and yellow powders. And you would ask, what happened to all the trees? Because they were all cut down to make steels in the 60s. So, also at the time, another funny part is that Mao ordered the entire country to make steels. If you're a farmer, stop farming, go make steels. If you're a teacher, stop teaching, go make steels. If you're doctors and nurses, you leave your hospital and go make steels. So the entire country was doing one thing. As a result, that led to the Great Famine in 1960s because all the farmers were making steels that they didn't farm. So they didn't grow any food, they didn't grow any pigs and cows, so there's no food production. It's not like we can eat steel, right? That's how they did it. That's a steel mill right here, right? They put spoons and doorknobs in there. So for a while, people didn't have spoons and doorknobs. And they melt the steel, they come out here. They just claim that they have a lot of steel production. Then comes to the time where they want to kill all the animals. So Mao said, because rats, sparrows, and flies, they ate off our food, so we have to kill them all so that we have food. And then the whole country went into a time where they were trying to kill birds. Because this is a poster saying this kid is trying to shoot down the birds. And you can see the little girl's holding some birds in her hand. And there's another poster right here. This kid is like, what, 10, right? And encourage them to go out, quit school, by the way, to go kill birds. So you can see there are sparrows right here for his trophies, right? So, again, that's what you do when Mao tells you to do something. So how did they do it? Here's a celebration of these guys saying how many birds that they killed. And because you get a praise and pat on the back for killing a lot of birds. Forget about environments, I mean, because Mao said they were eating all their food. So that's where people all went on doing. So this is how people actually were going after the birds at the time, okay? So they would climb onto trees with a big flag, trying to wave them, catch them, or they say you tire the birds out, you can grab them. So at that time, in China, on every tree, there are people there. So they're there to catch birds. Yes?
So did all kids stop going to school?
All kids stopped going to school. There's no schools were in session at the time. So no one went to school because they were all making steels and catching birds. They were busy doing that.
So nobody was working, nobody was learning anything. They were just.
No farmers were farming either. Yeah.
Wait, so how did it go from
there's the 1980s when they opened up the market, because this is 1960s. So the Cultural Revolution went from 66 to 76. So, because they killed all the birds and killed all the animals, and they were still not food. So Mao turned around and said, we're gonna raise a pig about this big. So we're gonna raise a pig this big, so it's one pig we can feed the whole village. Because the slogan here says, pig looks like an elephant with a short nose, kill one pig, you feed the whole village. Well, have you seen a pig this big before?
No.
Right? But Mao said that we could do it, and there were propaganda things that were everywhere like this, right? So, crazy times. So how he was able to manipulate people's feelings is he always wanted to instill this wartime mindset into everyone, in the citizens. With propagandas like this, down here it says, fill your heart with hate and kill everyone, you see? So that's a poster that goes into middle school students, right? Imagine that. Of course, they have Korean War posters. I don't know why they make Americans look like blue. But then these two giants are here, which is Chinese and North Korean. But somehow they're pointing at the American, but with a rifle way above their head. I have no idea what they're doing. But that's again the posters from the Korean War time. This is a poster about Taiwan. They're telling the Chinese people that Taiwanese people are being tied on stakes and on the beaches waiting for the Chinese to liberate them. So if next time you meet anyone from Taiwan, you ask them if they're all being tied up on the beaches. So clearly not real, right? Oh, here's the thing. This is an interesting thing. They were showing that this is a book for school-age students that they teach you how to shoot down planes. Because during the Korean War, they were saying that American jet fighters can fly over. You need to be prepared to shoot them down. So they have indications in the book telling you how to shoot down planes. Anyone see a problem with this one? Is this how you shoot down planes?
No. Why you laying down?
Well, I don't know, but they're telling you that you shoot planes down like that. But again, you look at how this is a kitchen lady with her kitchen hat, an apron. So,
Need high caliber missiles to shoot those things down.
I know, exactly. But that's how they were being taught. So even a kitchen lady can grab a rifle from her kitchen and come out and shoot planes.
So everybody used to have guns?
Well, that's a funny thing. China banned guns too. So I don't know how they were doing this. But during Cultural Revolution, they did rob some armories and get some guns. That happened in the 60s. So, but today they don't have guns. But again, you have illustrations looking like this, or like this. But again, I don't think your rifle bullets can reach that high, right? So it's complete brainwashing and all that stuff. So this is from New York Times, right? It was saying it marked 50 years of the start of the Cultural Revolution in China. And that's what happened back then. When they listened to Mao, they raised their fist. They claimed to take the properties from the rich, eat the landlord, all that good stuff, right? So again, it's just Red Guards would just follow their orders to the T, and they would have posters like this. For all their enemies, they would just beat them up with a poster. You will see these on the walls in the cities, just at a time, right? These are 3 people that they didn't like, so they have a poster like this and to beat them up. Actually, this guy was for a short time Mao's right-hand man, and he was for a short time the president of China before Cultural Revolution. So he said something Mao disagreed, and Mao would like do propagandas like this and make the Red Guards beat him up. Like literally went to his house and beat him up. Like,
That's crazy.
and here's another thing about how to beat that guy up. That they say everyone hates him, and this guy's with a brush. I don't know how you beat people with a brush, but with a shovels, with a rifle, and that's his name's Mr. Liu, Mao's right-hand guy. So then they're just beating him up like that. And again, why is he so small, right? You want to ask. Here's another 4 people they didn't like. You notice, why do you think they want to make them so small and make these guys, the Red Guards, so big?
To show that they're powerful.
To
They
show
don't
that,
like them.
to show that they're powerful and to diminish their enemies, right? Both, but you're right. So, and this guy right here was actually one of the top generals in Mao's army because he disagreed with Mao one time, and Mao just banished him and made him a prisoner, like political prisoner, and beat him up like this too.
So if anyone disagreed with Mao, this is where they ended up.
Yep. So this is what actually happened during Cultural Revolution. So they would bring the prisoners up, you hang a big poster, says who you are, crossed out your name, hence to cancel you, and they give you a title. So this lady is a big landlord. So being a landlord back then is a big no-no, and they would shame you, throw things on you, put you on the stage. So I don't have pictures of my family like this, but that's something that they did go through. Like my grandma was on the stage like this at one point, and people were shaming her for being dressed so pretty before, right? Yes.
So the reason why she couldn't be a landlord because they don't like private property kind of thing? Is that what it is?
Right, they banished private property at the time. So if you owned anything before, they will shame you like this. Another one, again, shame that person in that way. That is the top general of Mao. His name's Peng, General Peng. And this is Governor Cheng of one of the provinces in China. So there's a top general and a governor. And because they, again, disagree with Mao, and they would be shamed like this. Oh, they also make you wear very tall hats. So, they claim, Mao claimed during the Cultural Revolution that all bad things are old, all old things are bad. So he actually destroyed the Chinese culture in many ways. Because you go to China today, you don't feel a lot of traditional culture. But if you go to Taiwan today, you'll feel a lot of traditional Chinese culture. So that's the thing. So anything relating to the history, Mao wanted to erase them. So here says, break the old world to establish a new, but looks like he's just smashing, he's not building. So, so you can see they drag these hundreds years old statues from an old temple and smash them. I mean, these statues could be 800 years old to 1,000 years old, right? So they're smashed because they're old, right? Remember the tall hats? They put the tall hats to shame the statues because they're old, so they have to be shamed, right? So, and eventually destroyed as well, right? Burning old statues like this was common. So you go to China today, a lot of times you see things like this, like old statues cut off. Probably during Cultural Revolution, right? Yes?
Why were they so against, like, the religion?
not really against Buddha, but against anything traditionally Chinese culture.